on to our Claiming Business Expenses Legitimately webinar. Very topical subject. So what we find in our accountancy practice here is that an awful lot of people, they hear about expenses being claimed by TDs, and they hear about them being claimed by people who work perhaps in the public service, but they don't hear that much about it in the private sector. And in view of the fact that most of our clients work in the private sector, we repeatedly end up explaining to them how it works. So I see there's 20-something people on this evening, but the main plan is with the business expenses is just to show you how to claim them properly, that you don't pay tax on them, and that you claim back legitimately items that you run up yourself that you're entitled to get paid for from a tax-free basis. Just shooting on, this is myself. I'm an accountant here in Clifton, brought up in a building and publican background. I trained at Pricewaterhouse, home and abroad for many years before I set up in business 15 years ago. I have a couple of businesses myself. I've invested in various projects, and I won a business award last year. Like a lot of people, there's the odd hiccup along the way, and a few years ago I had an accident which put me out of action for a little while, but it tested some of the insurances we had and things like that. So moving on, what we aim to cover tonight, this will be about 30 to 40 minutes, won't go beyond that, and take plenty of notes. But in relation to business expenses, it's going to be who can use this system. You can read it yourself. What expenses are we talking about anyway? What records do you need to keep? And I'll prove to you what needs to be kept there. What do you need to do to make your claim valid? And what I mean by that is, if a taxman is auditing you and he's looking at these expenses, just the simple items you need to have in place in order that he looks at them and then goes away from them, because he knows they're above board. What are the income tax implications, if any? And is there a computer program that keeps track? And there's a few, and I'll show you one of them. Okay, just a few questions to think about in your own business. The first one is, do you have a business base? So as long as you have an office, even if it's in your home, that's your base, or if you have an office in a separate location, or if you're on the road, that's your home is, say, where all the tools are left, but you're driving around from job to job like a builder or a various tradesmen might do, or a travelling salesman, or even a vet. Your business base has to be somewhere. It's not the car. So it's either in your bedroom where you keep all your books and records, but somewhere where you leave your personal stuff. That's your business base. Do you work there all the time? If you do, you're not out and about travelling, so there's not many expenses to claim. But if you travel out and about, that's where the expenses regime can help you out. Do you travel away all the time or on occasion? Think about that. Do you use your own car to travel around? Now, as regards claiming mileage, you can't do that with a company car. You can do it with your own car, which you use for business purposes. So rule number one is, if you're going to claim mileage, it must be with your own car, or with a car you've borrowed. Okay, so that's the first thing, and we'll look at that in a few minutes. And do you work more than 10 hours a day away from your base? So what I mean by that is, if your base is in the middle of Galway City, and there's an office there and there's someone answering the phone, but you get in the car every morning, drive away from it, and don't get back to that base until over 10 hours later, well then there's money that can be claimed tax-free for literally being away from where you expect to be on a daily basis. So a few little technical items, very simple though. Who can use the system? Sole traders, self-employed cannot use it. People working for sole traders and self-employed can. That is an employee, which is the second item just there. And company directors. So there isn't much difference between, I'm just going to highlight this one. Didn't highlight it too good. I'm just going to point out that a company director is effectively self-employed. Okay, but yet there's a company there who employs them. A company is a separate person, directors work for it. So that's what makes them employees. Employees of any business they're just working for their wages, and they can claim. Sole traders, people like me, can't unless I'm doing it as an employee of someone or under the umbrella of a company director. So just to clarify that. This is from a previous webinar we did, just thinking about wealth and what the point is. You won't get wealthy unless you educate yourself, and this slide from the previous webinar about managing cash. Now it's on our website. If you go into our website, you'll see supporting you, or what we do. Further down there is managing cash, and there's a very short webinar on just managing simple money in, money out, and making and saving yourself thousands and thousands. But one of the ways out is knowing your costs, and this claiming expenses and how to do it properly is another opportunity to do that. So I threw this to people last week, and just third one there, they don't educate themselves in understanding cash management. Why aren't more people more wealthy? Cash management is one. Claiming back tax-free expenses is part of cash management. So that's why I put it in there again. You have to conduct your life like a business and aim at profit. So just thought that might be topical. Okay. Okay, next point on the agenda, what expenses are we talking about? Okay, mileage, even though we talk kilometers a lot these days, mileage is obviously in a vehicle. Perhaps it's not that obvious. In a vehicle anyway, even if it's a motorbike going from A to B. Okay, but it must be from your business base. Now, I've just gone over this business base thing. You cannot claim mileage from going from your house into work. You can claim mileage from going from one workplace to another. So if you have 2 or 3 shops or 2 or 3 points of, if you're a builder, you have 2 or 3 jobs on the go, driving between them is where you can claim mileage. But coming back to point A, you must be in your own vehicle, and you claim so much a kilometre or so much a mile. And I'll go over the amounts later, but to throw it in there, it's 59 cents a kilometre is the maximum civil service rate at the moment. And effectively, if you drive 10 kilometres, you can claim 59 cents under certain conditions per kilometre, as long as it's between your business base and another place. Okay, so you all get used to this. There's a short day allowance where you're away from your base for less than 10 hours, but more than 5. And there's a long day allowance where you're away for more than 10 hours from your business base. So I'll be going over these later. Then there's the overnight allowance where you're gone so far away, or for some reason you've got to stay away for the night to finish work the next day. You're allowed claim for being away from your base overnight. So if you're based in Dublin and you come down to Galway and the job isn't finished, you've got to stay overnight and finish it tomorrow morning. That type of situation. But easy enough to envisage it, but it's more important to have the paperwork right and claiming it. And then additional expenses, the toll roads, parking, putting in for those. So those are the type of items we're going to be talking about. So let's start going through them now. On mileage, this is what you can claim maximum, okay? Now it's an odd number, but 6,357 kilometers per year is what you can claim at the top rate, which is 59 cents a kilometer. As you work it out yourself on your calculators, that's approximately, it's almost 4,000 euro. So you're driving around the country pricing jobs, looking at jobs, meeting accountants, meeting solicitors, checking on employees working for you, driving around in your own car. You can claim it's just over 6,000 kilometers at 59 cents. After that it drops down to a lower rate of 28 cents. I don't know the reasoning why, but it does. Now, it's not just to compensate you for your petrol, it's to compensate you for the wearing out of your tyres, your insurance, and the higher the mileage on your car, the less your car is worth. So it's not a petrol allowance, it's a wearing out of your vehicle allowance, but it is to cover petrol. But the conditions are, you pay for your own petrol or diesel, you pay for your own car, you pay for your own repairs and maintenance, okay? But you can charge your company, or an employee can charge you up to 59 cents per kilometer. It's handed into you like a bill, and a check is written back to you, and the bill is tax-free. Sorry, the check coming back to the company director or the employee is tax-free. It's just reimbursing them for the wearing out of their car and for using their car on company business. But when the business writes the check to the employee, so if Kevin Barry is the director, I give my company a bill for 200 euro for driving to Galway and back. That's a bill of the company. It reduces the profit, which reduces the corporation tax that I might be paying in that company. But the check in my hand is tax-free. I'm not paying universal social charge. There's no PRSI in it, and there's no income tax. So there you win. Overnight, something similar. If I went up to Lewisburg to meet a client and wine and dine them for the night and had to stay over because it was, there was no way I was able to make it back, I pay my own B&B, but I charge my company an overnight allowance of 107 euro. Even if I slept in the car, I don't have to produce a receipt. I just have to justify it to my company that it was a business purpose I was up there. So if I was up there meeting I don't know, the Taoiseach or something like that. I'd say I was up there wine and dining him with the expectation of getting business out of it. As long as I can justify it to a fellow company director or my boss, it's allowable. Okay, so I'll show you the ins and outs of that in a minute. Day allowances, like these are tax-free allowances that your business can pay you tax-free. We'll just look at this one here, the 33 euros. If a company wrote a check to a director for 33 euros, there'd be another 10 euros minimum on top of that between tax and PRSI and universal social charge, just for giving them 33 euros to say thanks. But if you do it as regards an allowance where the director had to shoot out from where the company operates from to meet someone or to get something done business-wise, get some parts, that's completely payable tax-free as long as it's claimed in the right way. So it's not complicated, it's just a matter of the owners of the business being aware of what they can claim for and when. Okay, so it can add up to a lot. Just to give you a rule of thumb, 5,000 euro per director in expenses, as long as the business situation kind of explains why they'll be on the move, would not be unusual. In some cases 20,000 per director would not be unusual. Okay, so what records do you need to keep? So these are, where am I getting these from? These are the records: who went on the journey, where you went, why you went there, distance travelled, start and finish point. So you started with, say, in Clifton here and you finished in Galway, the date of the journey, and why expenses are being approved. So in other words, it has to be business related and not a Christmas party trip. But let's just come to a point. If an employee walked up to you and said, I wish to claim expenses because last week I went from our place of work here to Donegal, and I went there to price a job, and I used my own car, and we got the job, and I'm back here now, and this is the distance that I went. You would look for evidence, you would look for these details. So it's nothing new. So if someone says you owe me 200 euro for driving up to Donegal, overnighting in Donegal, and driving back, you'd be looking for these details. Why did you go there? Who did you meet? What did you do? What did you achieve? But you'd like to know that they were going up there ahead of schedule so that you could okay the expenses. That's the safeguard. So, but this is all you keep. Now I'm going to show you this little form. I'll show you where you get it. It's called IT54. Now there's something here on this presentation I can write, and I'm just looking around for it. I can't find it at the moment, but yeah, I can actually. It's called. I'm going to write it here. Give the writing. If any of you have any questions, by the way, feel free to type them in. There's an area there you can questions, and I'll get to them later on. Okay, so anyway, this is the form, IT54. So income tax 54. I'm just going to zoom in a small bit on this. Yeah, here it goes. Okay, this is a form from the taxman. You can't beat using their own forms. Okay, I'll just go down here to a couple of quick things. Okay, well, I'm not going to be quick about them because they're very important. But this IT54 is written by the revenue people. It sets out the civil service rates and the conditions that need to be followed in order to legitimately claim them. If you legitimately keep track of these expenses, they're payable tax-free to the recipient, which is probably you, and they're tax deductible to the company, which is probably your business. Okay, but look up here. These are them. Okay, I'm just going to put a circle around them, and I'll show you where to get these later. You can print them out and keep them in your diary. So if someone's claiming expenses, the form, the details that need to be kept. Now, I'll show you how to keep them, but if it's only a diary that you keep, and every page has a date in it, and someone goes from A to B on that day, well, you write in the diary the name and address of who went from A to B, the date they went, the reason they went, which might be to complete a job, the distance. You can get that on a different website, www.theaa.ie. I'll just write that here, which is, forget the www for a minute, and it's the AA. I'll show you an easier way in a minute, but just if you want to trick around and see how far is it from somewhere to somewhere. Okay, there's a route finder on that if you don't already know it, and that's where it is. So the distance travelled in kilometres or miles. The starting point, which it might be from your base, or it might be from, you might have 5 or 6 outlets. It could be from one outlet to the next, but never from your home to the job. It's always from outlet to outlet. And the basis for reimbursement, for instance, is the civil service rates. The rates I'm quoting here are the civil service rates. Anything up to them or lower is payable tax-free. Anything above that could be taxable. So, but the rates are high. There's no reason to go above them. Okay. So, that's the Form IT-54. A couple of little traps I want you to watch out for, which are the following. I'm just looking for it here. Paying the same amount every week is called flat rate allowance. I'm just seeing if I can find them fairly quickly. If you just pay someone €200 a week or €100 a week as expenses, that'll be completely thrown out by the tax man. He'll tax it as wages. Don't do it, okay? Keep track of each individual journey. You can pay amounts on account, that's fine, but make sure you have individual record of each journey. I'm just going to show you this form because this will back up everything I'm saying. Normal place of work. The normal place of work is the place where an employee normally performs the duties. It's from that normal place of work that the mileage starts from and can end. It's never from home to work. I know I'm repeating myself, but that's for emphasis. Business journeys. A business journey is one which an employee travels from one place of work to another place of work in the performance of duties. If you're hiring people and you're looking at a salary package, and I'll show you an example later on, knowledge of these business expenses can help you pay an employee more efficient, because if that person's on the road, rather than pay them a flat salary, you can build in an expense expectation into their job. So, and you're cutting out POIE, PRSI if their job description allows for it. Let me see. This is the one, reimbursement by employer by way of flat rate allowances. Flat rate allowances are never allowable, and don't go there. But you can pay by actual receipts. Now, there's nothing in it for the employee if you pay by actual receipts. So if someone just gives you hands you the bill for petrol and you reimburse them, that's fine. But there's no gain. There is a gain to the recipient, and I'm presuming this is you as the company director, or you as the employee of somebody else, in claiming for overnight allowances. So if you get a B&B for 50 quid and you're allowed to claim 109, there's obviously a profit there. That's where the gain is in the expenses. Okay. And that's the main stuff. I mean, this IT-54, I'll email it to you after this presentation. I'll show you where to get it in case you lose track. But here's an example of, if people don't like the computer, here's an example of a typical claim form, which I designed myself. And I did this on Excel. I can put this through to you, but effectively the name of the business here, this is a fictional employee, Maggie Joe. Their PPS number will go on it. Over here is the civil service allowances. You see the 59.07 mileage allowance, or it's kilometre allowance really, but the term is mileage. And all that happens is the date of the journey will go here. The start will say Mullingar to Dublin, might be the start and finish points. Reason could be to attend a course. Overnight is, if it's a yes, there's an overnight allowance, which is up there at 108.99. Kilometres travelled, I showed you how to get those. If they weren't overnight, were they working late, and if so, what's the allowance, which again is up here, 33.61, or if it's less than 10 hours, but more than 5, 13.71. And do it on a monthly basis or weekly basis, whatever suits. But effectively, down here is going to be the total of the expense claim by the employee. That goes into your bookkeeping. It goes in as a bill. You write a check and pay it. The bill is a business expense, so it reduces your profit, reduces your corporation tax, and it gets money out to the recipient, tax-free. Okay. So I've been through audit on these things. If you keep the records right, there's not a problem. And that's the golden rule, and the rules are easy to follow. Okay. So I'll move easily onwards. What do I need to do to make the claim valid? Key thing, number one, the person claiming must sign the claim. Now that is on this here on the bottom. Signed. So Maggie Joe in this case would sign her signature there. and she would hand it to her boss, who would check it out and sign it there. Now, if you're a company director, you sign it here because you're claiming it, and there's always 2 directors in every company. Director number 2 must sign it here, and that's valid. If it's not approved, it's not valid. Okay, you always get it approved. You don't need to talk to the revenue about claiming these expenses. If a revenue person ever says, "Have you got pre-approval for revenue from the revenue to conduct expenses?" that went out 10 years ago. It was there. You used to write in to say, "We want to operate expenses. Is it okay?" They'd never write back. Eventually, the pre-approval got thrown out. So you can just operate it, no problem. And there's actually, for the employee or the company director, if he stayed overnight in Cork for the night, or she stayed overnight in Cork and she claimed €107 for staying the night down there, and she actually paid 80 quid for the hotel, but she's allowed to claim up to 107 from the business. We don't need to ask her for receipts. Once we're happy that she was down there on business purposes and there was something out of it for the business by her being down there, if we've agreed that that's the max we'll pay, if she paid €200 for the night, she doesn't get the difference. She only gets the 107 though. That's the downside. But you get the point. We're going to pay a maximum of 107 tax-free. She can claim up to that, or he can claim up to that. So, but we don't need to see the receipts. You can ask for them, but they don't need to keep them. Same being you, the company director, doesn't need to keep them either. Okay, so, but they do need to be validly approved. Absolutely essential. Okay, that point. Income tax implications. Everyone loves this one. These expenses are tax-free on the person receiving them. Okay, there is nothing coming out of them. The universal social charge, which is the new tax that our latest government brought in, is savage. Okay, it's only really hit home in the last number of months, but that does not affect these expenses. You're better off having a lower salary and a stronger knowledge of expenses and claiming them properly these days, because it'll work out cheaper for your business or for your boss. Okay, so there's no universal social charge, there's no benefit in kind, which is tax again. These are all tax. There might be different words, but they're taxes. Expenses, depending on the job description, expenses can form part of a salary package. So rather than someone working for straight wage, if you fiddle around with what they're doing, give them different duties. Some of it can be paid as expenses and some of it's paid as a salary because it fits the description of the job. There's something to think about there, and I'll show you that now in a moment. For instance, they're driving a lot. It's a salesman. Okay, you can put a car under them. They'll get tax benefit in kind unless they're doing huge mileage. But if they can use their own car to go from A to B, it can be a good incentive to get a great employee and pay them well, but not cripple the business with tax. It's different for the big ones like the banks and that. It doesn't matter what they pay in tax; they get bailed out. But for a private business, they certainly need to watch the costs on a daily basis, never mind weekly. Okay. Computer programs that can help. Okay, I'm going to show you one here. It's this one called mileagesheet.ie, and I'm just going to give an example. So hopefully you can all see this. The internet should open up in a second. I hope. It's meant to open up anyway. It was working earlier, and of course when I need it, it's not. And that divil now. So let me just close that a second. I'll just try again. Okay. Some little delay in it there. But I'm going to show you a little computer program in a moment that effectively you type in who you are, where you went to. It calculates all the mileage and subsistence and all these items and keeps track of them for you on a daily, monthly basis. So I'm just wondering why this thing isn't opening up for once. I'll come back to that in a second. I won't hold up for a moment. Let me just see. But this is the program which I'm going to demonstrate now in a second when I work out what the little hiccup is. There's always something. But it's free, okay, for one person. And even I've added employees to it. You kind of email the owners, they're Cork crowd. And you can add on employees. They don't charge you anything. I don't know how they make money out of it, but it's very handy for our purposes. It calculates the distances between obscure places. Saves you a lot of head wrecking. Has all the up-to-date civil service rates, so you don't have to worry about are you claiming the right amounts. If you have an iPhone or a smartphone, there's an Android now. You can keep track of this in the evening when you're having a cup of tea and you're in a pub or something, and you can just put in you went from A to B today, and it's all saved on the internet, like Yahoo or those type of things. So there's no updating your computer. The dates and times of where you went and who you went to see are all there. And that's actually what cloud computing is, where you save stuff up on the internet. It's not on your server. So let me have another crack at showing you how that works. And I'm just surprised it ain't coming on there. It's been working all day. So that's a divil. Okay, let me just I'm going to do it another little way and bring you all in on it. I have another way to do it. Okay, you might tell me if you can see this. Okay, I'm just going to check this out. Okay, that's it, alright. I'm sharing the screen. So, can you all see that account? Could you type yes or no there? I'll know pretty quick if you can see it, or if it's too small. Okay, thanks, Catherine. Okay, that's fine. Well, I'll try and demonstrate anyway. Okay, let me just. This is my list sheet. You see the top left is the name of my business, and there's a small bit of setup. You put in your name, the registration of your car, the size of the engine, and all this type of thing. So, but that goes in. But I'm just going to log in as myself, and although it's not March yet, okay, it does all the months: January, February, March, April, May. You know, we all know the months of the year. But let's just say I want to, over on the right here, I'm just checking everyone's okay. Yes, but small, okay. I suppose that's small. I think you're going to make it a bit bigger. Let me try full screen. I get a little issue about the browser. Let me just try and sort. I'm just going to do another little change. I'll see if I can sort that browser thing. Okay, I might sort out. Sorry, just a little. I'll actually try a different approach, because if you're not getting the benefit of it, I won't delay things too long, but I'll try another crack at it now. Do. Yeah, no, why the line's not opening up all of a sudden. Anyway, I'll go back to share the screen. Pity it's small, but trust me, it's great. Here's the mileage sheet, but effectively, I'm going to just add a journey in. Say for the 1st of March, for all of you that can see it. So I'll just write here: meet fictional client Paddy Tierney. Reference code could be quotation. And we'll go down here. So the start, we'll just say, was Galway, and the end was Limerick. Very quickly done. It works. It does the map. See up top there. It works out the distance, 99 kilometers. And it asks me, do I want to return journey? I'm going to say yes to that. Save the journey. Okay. And journey's in. It hasn't worked out the amount yet. Subsistence. Over here. Add subsistence. Let's go up to the 1st of March again. Do it for the same journey. Now, depending on your salary level, you're either Class A or Class B. Most people would be Class B actually, but say I was 10 hours. Say I was overnight in this case. So I overnighted because it was a big day out. And it's done that, so that's saved now. And expenses is where you just claim for tolls or parking and this type of stuff. So I'm going to click on dashboard, which is top right. and it's worked it out. €225 for going up and down to Limerick and staying the night. So if I slept in the car and was kind of pre-approved to go up and down on the same day, great for me. But the mileage was 118.04 of that, which is this figure here, and the subsistence 107. And in a few seconds, it's all worked out. There's very little filling out of it, and that's all you need to do. Down here in the bottom left of the mileage rates, 59.07 for the first 6,437 kilometers. I mentioned it was an odd number, and everything above that is at 28.46. And here are the rates: 107 for an overnight. I'm just going to come back to my main webinar to help you out. If you're over 28 days staying away from base, the theory is you should be renting a place by now, so it drops down and down. 107 eventually down to €53. That's fair enough, 53 a day is a lot. So the IT54 is on this link if you want to get it, and you forget about the fact that I've emailed it to you or you lose that. It's on. There's no www. It's growthaccountants.com, and there's a search facility there. We should bring you this IT54, and the computer program will also show up, which is mileage sheet. And I'll be emailing you a tape of this webinar afterwards, and on that will be I'll have the expenses and all that, those links there. So don't forget to look at it. But let me just give you an example of what the level of saving is. This is although this is a fictional person, it's actually a real person that we changed them around for. Okay, Maggie Joe. She was single, running her own company. That must be a company. If it's a partnership, change it to a company. Using her own car, she had a base, we'll say in Westport, but the way she was working was she was travelling 10,000-ish kilometres per year on business. She was all over the place. She was great, crippled with tax. She was always working late, and a lot of the time she stayed overnight and never really booked anything until she got there, but it was all action. But at the end of the year, there was a fairly big tax bill. That was poor old Maggie. This is the way she was. She was bringing home 40,000. She had just the one car, which she was driving the devil out of. She was paying a mortgage as well, which when you look at her mortgage versus her income, there wasn't an awful lot left. She had 2 holidays a year, one abroad. She had health cover. She wasn't too bad that way. But effectively, putting 40,000 in her fist was costing her another 11,581. And generally the way this would unfold is that she was chasing money to come in, or chasing bills, or you know what I mean. It was a juggling act or a balancing act. So that was it. Anyway, just by looking at the circumstances of her job, educating her on the expenses, showing her what she needed to keep track of, which in her case was really just a diary, and the second director was a mother. So her mother would, okay, yeah, you were there, I know you were there. And that's legitimate once the co-director approves it. So, 1 year later, that's not her, but that was the way her face was. We dropped her salary to 30,000 to the hand. It came down by 10. But her expenses, which she was always eligible to claim if she knew about them, gave her another 10,000. So she still brought home 40,000. 30,000 in salary, 10,000 in expenses. But she saved this amount, just her, in PRSI, Universal Social Charge, or the levy as it was then, and POE. Now that's one person, just by looking at the way they operate, and you'd have a heck of a holiday on that. So cash wasn't as big a strain, and she was able to concentrate on collecting money, setting up procedures within her business that people would pay her some money up front or retain her, making sure she billed on time, which was half her problem. She wasn't getting the bills out quick enough, and when the bills were going out, she had some of the retainer in, and she had procedures for collecting the remainder, be it credit cards or standing orders or part payments or finance schemes, whatever it was. But all of a sudden she wasn't thinking about money every minute. She was thinking about finishing jobs, collecting money, new clients, new business. And that was a major saving for her business, And that's only an example. Nearly every business I know could avail of something similar. So some questions that were typed in while I was doing this. Someone has written down that they're a partnership. Have they the correct business structure for claiming these? The answer is no. You must be a company, or you must be an employee of a sole trader or of a partnership or of a company. Employees can claim, and company directors can claim. But if you're a sole trader like I am, you can't claim expenses like this. What you can do is you can claim an allowance on your car up to a certain limit. You can claim for some of your petrol. You can claim the VAT back on your diesel. It's all right, but it's not as good. Okay, so if you're thinking of looking at your business, am I set up right going forward? And you've got to think of things like PRSI, dole, liquidation. Are you leaving yourself open? You know, who owns the company? Are you better off having the company owned by someone you trust and you being an employee of your own company and paying a higher stamp or PRSI level so that if something does go wrong you can claim redundancy? That's another item for another day, but you get the point. Same thing with the expenses. If there's more in it for you by being a limited company or by changing the business around that someone else owns the business and you're working for them, well, that's when the expenses are for you. So the person who typed this in was a partnership and they don't have the right business structure. So maybe a limited company with your partner or something along those lines. But changing the business structure just to claim expenses isn't the right reason to change the business structure. There needs to be a bit more to it. Okay, but it could be one of the right reasons for it. Second, do I have to share receipts? The answer is no. Once a co-director or your boss, who's a director or a senior person, okays the expense claim, you don't have to share receipts. Okay? Can you go back in time? Yes, you can. If it's a case that last year you realize, God, I could have been claiming this the whole time, you can still go back and claim. You just need to get that diary, write in the details we said earlier about where you went, why you went there. I'll just see, can I find it quickly? No. Sorry, let's go further up again. Sorry there. Yeah, who went there, where you went, why you went there, where you went from and to. Okay, it has to be from your base to another base. The date, and did you know, why are they being approved? There must be a business reason for going there. So if you went to meet a new client or meet your accountant or meet your solicitor or to finish off on a job or to deliver products, whatever it is, there must be a business reason that you didn't go there for the night out. Okay, just shoot down here a little bit again. Nearly done now for you guys, and thanks very much for coming online. I know it's not easy finding the time. We have an offer. Just in case, we're doing this for a little while, but if people are thinking they mightn't have the correct business structure, we do have free company formation for new clients as long as they're going to stay for a minimum of 2 years. Okay, so that's it. We pre-agree all fees, but to form a company is €300, and we get an agency to do it. We pay them that, but at least you've got your company set up. So we've set up 6 in the last 2 months, and they're new businesses and that type of thing. But if it's a new trade, and it's what's called a qualifying trade, which effectively nearly all of them are at the moment, there's also, which is the second item there, no corporation tax for the first 3 years. But if you're it doesn't apply to the building trade, by the way, but if you're a manufacturer of bread and you're a sole trader and you decide to become a limited company, you won't get this discount. But if you're setting up a new business and you're going into it, well, then you will get this discount because you're new, and it's a new trade for you. It's a new company, new trade. So therefore, if you make profits in the first 3 years of business, now that's if you make profits, never easy, well, then you won't pay any tax on those profits. So the present rate of tax is 12.5% of the profit. So there's tax everywhere. There's VAT, which is a tax on sales. There is POE, PRSI, which is a tax on work, and there is corporation tax, which is a tax on profits. So the word tax is a bit loosely used sometimes, and but that's what that one relates to. So think about that offer. It's open to everyone on the webinar anytime. And what you need to do now, read IT 54. I'll email it to you inside the next 24 hours anyway. But do read it and have it stuck up on the wall in your offices. Okay, know it. It's simple to get this right. Okay, you might be a little bit confused all the bits and pieces, but it's simple to get this right. Consider your business structure. Are you set up right to claim these expenses anyway? And if it does demand a change, it might be the best thing ever down the road. There's a bit of hassle for a month in setting up companies, VAT numbers, new bank accounts, all that for a month. It's over in a month, and you're right after that. If you've got girls and fellas working for you, just maybe have a look at the way you're paying them. Maybe there's a better, cheaper way to pay them from a business point of view that still puts the same money or more in their pocket. Okay, so anything that keeps a good employee with you and and they know it's a good package. But certainly, it's always good to have good people that make you money. If you're not making money out of your employees, but then they're no good to you, so they're now a cost anyway. So this mileage sheet program, you should register on it, trick around with it, have a go. It's great, and if nothing else, it'll keep track of. If you're not the type of person who keeps track of where you're going and why you went there, by putting this program on your iPhone or Android phone or on your computer, it's interesting enough. You'll have it done in. I had that done. As I look at for it again, here it is. You probably don't see it, but anyway, listen, don't worry about that. I had it done in 20 seconds, the whole trip. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to contact me. Okay, so emails anytime, phones anytime, not a problem. And that's really it for now. And I'm going to try one last thing. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I don't see any more questions in. And if you're okay, I'm just going to send you out a little poll. That's a yes/no answer. And I haven't tried this before, but I'm just putting up a poll there, and I think it asks you to vote to say, did you learn something new? Oh, okay. Well, anyway, got a response. Oh, thanks very much. Anyway, it's nice to know we're telling you something new that you didn't know before. And I've got a second one if I can find it. Okay, I'm just going to save that one. This is great. And this is. I'm just going to have a look at another one. Okay, and just for future seminars, this is this one. I think there's a few subjects there. If you can read them, I can't read them myself. But effectively, down the bottom, there's 5 or 6 other subjects that we might do in the next month or two on webinars. They're brief. We tape them. You email out, and if you're educating yourself, 1 new subject a week, isn't it great? So just get an idea of what people are looking at. Thanks very much. I can see everyone voted there, and yeah, it gives me an idea. Oh, it's pretty evenly split across the board. Okay, that was great. Well, anyway, I'll digest all of that, and I see how I do that. I close the poll, but I'd like to thank you all for being online tonight. And if ever any of you have any other questions that occur to you as soon as this is over, just email them through, and I'll be back to you within 24 hours with the answer. Thanks very much. Have a great evening. It's nearly the weekend. Come on Ireland on Saturday. Bye now.